Welcome everyone to another episode of The Creative Minds. Joining me here today is Mahmoud Bartawi. And Mahmoud, I came across your profile. Honestly, the first thing that grabbed my attention was your first project. It was under 500 because food was a big aspect I was curious about. Yeah, I don't want to share more about your experiences. I want you to share more. But tell us more about yourself, who you are, what you do.
And first of all, thank you for having me on the show and
Yes.
for being very kind to me so far.
Of course.
Well, I'll introduce myself. I'm Emirati from Dubai. I grew up in Jumeirah, and I've lived here most of my life. I travel frequently, but my base is Dubai. And so I went to school here. I went to the Dubai National School, and then I went to the American University of Sharjah, the AUS. I did my bachelor's there. And then I joined my first job in a bank. And, as I was progressing through, I had a banking career of about 10 years. I moved from bank to bank, always looking for that higher salary. And I think that's a big motivator for me at the time. I wanted to be independent. I wanted to, and then I think it was a point at work. At the same time that I was an employee in an organization, I wanted to be very healthy. So health was something, that was passed down to me, I think, from my father. He used to take me in the morning on these walks. He used to wake up at 5:30, go for a walk every day. And, I think that was something I picked up from him. And I started paying attention to my health. And I was looking for different restaurants that would give me healthy food. And I think that the first, motivator I got was, I went to a business and told them, could I franchise I love your healthy food concept so much, can I franchise it? And at the time in Dubai, when we're talking about healthy food, this was the only restaurant that was there. Everywhere else was, at the time, I think Subway, Subway that was healthy food, right?
Yeah.
All that processed meat, everyone was running after to get, and I was one of those people. And I thought, how can I do my own concept that's kind of like good tasting food, but also calorie counted, and this kind of, it was always in the back of my mind because I was looking for that healthy food, and I kind of wanted to start, somewhere, and I couldn't leave my job because it was paying me really well.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I had this passion to try something new.
Yeah.
So I kept thinking, like, how can I do it? And then the first thing I thought was, the first piece of information I actually read that made sense to me was that 88% of businesses fail in the first 2 years. And that's a fact. So I thought about mitigating my risk. Like, how could I do a business and not have to face such a big, like, it's a really big statistic to go against. I thought, how could I franchise another brand? So it didn't work with Subway, but I found another brand that was not healthy food. And I kind of had a franchise experience for 1 year. So all I did was, I found the location, I put their brand on it. I understood the F&B thing for a year, and then I sold it back to the franchisor for the same money I put in, just to get some knowledge.
Okay.
I kind of wanted like a crash course in like restaurants. And I didn't know how do I understand this business? I wanted to do a healthy food place, right? It was my dream. So the minute I cashed out from there, I thought about the restaurant business. I thought, I'm going to need someone in marketing and I'm going to need someone in the kitchen.
Definitely, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I thought, like, if I managed to find one of these two, I'd make them my partner so that they'd always be with me. And I would learn how to, be in a marriage with someone, in a sense, like, when you co-found the company with someone, you kind of have to like up your game and understand how to work with people and give them respect and demand work in a certain way. You can't boss them around. It's your business partner.
Yeah.
So, I started reading a bit about that, all the entrepreneurial stuff. And at the same time, I was going from looking for someone to do the marketing and for a chef to design the menu. So I found, I went to the Sky, he went to AUD, I went to AUS. He was a smart guy. We used to be friends before. We were never really close friends, but we had common friends. And he basically did the branding for me, and then we were thinking together. And he said, "What if you did 500 calories a day? And if someone ate 3 meals, so then each dish would be 500 calories. And in a day, if you eat 1,500 calories, the average human's BMR, which is the base metabolic rate, is about 1,800. So if you take an average height and an average weight, you need 4 factors to calculate your BMR. The average is about 1,800, and we thought if everyone ate every day 1,500 calories, they would eventually lose weight and believe in what we were doing and what we were offering." And I thought that was a really good idea. So Fadi, my co-founder from Under 500, I thought it was a great idea, and then he said, "Can I jump on this with you? You seem to have experience in the restaurant business. You have this franchising experience, and you're also like, you have a financial background. I'm a design guy. Like I can do, I can bring things into life and picture and
Yeah.
And I thought that was a good collab. We kind of, we kind of got along. We started hanging out on the weekends more, and we put an effort to become better friends as well. I think it's really important you're friends with your co-founder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that led to a lot of good stuff. Initially, he said like, "I'll join you, but, we got to be 50-50, and, you can't be my boss and I won't be your boss." And we agreed on those things. And I think it's really important for people to realize that it's really not that hard. And that's my reason of sharing the story, really. I want everybody who has a corporate job to understand it. The rest of the story goes that Fadi, for example, it was me and Fadi, and we decided that we needed the chef. And we thought like, we interviewed people, and we thought like, how do we get a fine dining chef and a nutritionist to work together and to give us these dishes of 500 calories?
Yeah.
So Fadi knew a chef who was an Italian chef. He used to work for Tribeca and JBR, really nice place. He used to cook good steak and good food.
Yeah.
So, we contracted him to do this food tasting for us, and we got a nutritionist to basically, say, "No, that's too much, reduce. And we ended up with 30 under 500 dishes.
Wow. Yeah.
And we thought like, let's put this into the market and see what happens. Like, maybe people, they like it. But like a lot of my friends were like, don't do it. You're going to waste your money. And I know that was genuine. They care about me. Yeah. They're like, "Man, this is like, how can you call a restaurant under 500? Why is there a number in the name?"
Seriously? Okay.
Yeah. And then I said, "Look, there's Fadi and there's green and there's black, and the healthy person would see the green and get the 500, maybe, right?" Like,
yeah, like honestly, the name grabbed my attention, to be honest. Like I was like, let me check this out.
Yeah, you'll be surprised how many of your friends want to save you at the time you want to start.
Yeah.
Thank God I didn't get saved, and I thought about, how about I do this and take a risk? And so what happened is we decided to launch 2 locations together, JLT and Business Bay, and then we decided to learn about so we got the 2 locations running, and then we learned about franchising, and then our plan was to do, like, I know it's an ambitious plan, but we bought rights to 80 countries.
Oof.
Yeah, we thought the word under 500, if we block it everywhere, we could localize dishes in every country with 500 calories. Like 70% of the menu could be the same, but then you'd have 30 localized, right? Like,
interesting. Yeah.
And that's what we thought, and we did that, and we had a plan to franchise. And so we just wanted to grow our business. We franchised the first year, we franchised 1 unit, and the second year we franchised another unit. So in year 2, we had doubled our growth from 2 branches to 4 branches.
Oh, okay.
The plan was to basically double up every year. We started flying around to franchise exhibitions. We went to India, we went to the UK, we went everywhere. Turkey. Just to name some of the places top of my mind.
You're saying this easily, that you started opening restaurants from 2 to 4, but I mean, where did the funding come from? Even initially, like, where did you get the fund? Did you invest your own money? Were you at the same time working in your corporate job as well, building this up? How was that?
Aida, I really like your question. I think and I'd be happy to share that.
Thank you.
it's more on the financial part. So I had sold, I had some savings that I put into a franchisee unit. And then when I had sold it back to the guy a year later, I got my money out. And I had about like 800,000 dirhams. And, I had 800,000 and I met Fadi, and Fadi at the time also, he had an apartment. He didn't have any cash. But he wanted to work with me and be my partner, right?
Yeah.
So we went and spoke to a few banks, and they decided to mortgage his place and give him 800,000 in cash. So now we had two 800,000s.
Okay.
He said, why don't we do two units together? And then his time and my time would be, we didn't get paid salaries. We hire people, and, our time would be split among two units. The marketing effort, the accounting effort, anything that was added to two locations as opposed to one. And also from a launch point of view, we thought two units launching together would have a bigger bang. So he sorted out, we sorted out through the banks his, what he could add, and I could add the equivalent amount. And it took me 10 years to save this at work, and took him to, his apartment to mortgage it. So we kind of like we went all in.
Yeah.
That was everything I had. I didn't spend on a nice car. I had, normal, everything was normal. So I just wanted to own this business. I thought, like, if I want to do something, I want to do something that I believe in. That's, something for me, right? Healthy food. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So 2 units, 800,000. And we thought, we went and we thought, if we wanted to franchise a unit to someone else, what that really means is to convince an investor to put his money into our brand and pay us a royalty, like of 5% plus a down payment. Actually, franchise name. And we thought, how could we do this in 1 year? We kind of wanted to hack the system, right? We thought, like, there's Subway, right? And they're all over the city, and Subway's been around forever. Why would someone take a branch of under 500? So we thought that there were 3 things that someone needed to franchise a unit. Number 1 was a 1-year financial picture. Like, that's the minimum. Like, no one would franchise something less than 1 year. Unless it returned all of its money back before that 1 year, then the cycle is actually shorter, right?
Yeah.
So that was the first thing that we needed to do. The second thing we needed to have is obviously a franchise contract.
Okay.
Like, to franchise to the guy, we need to give him a contract that says what he needs to do and all of this stuff. It's just it's for him to. So we thought, if we put all our money into the best franchising contract, it would help us in point number 1. So we found the most expensive guy in town, Ahmad from Francorp. It's a US corporation. They're based, they have they have an office here in Business Bay, and they've done like all the big brands in the US. They're pretty, like, and we went into his office. We told him, look, we want a franchise contract, and we want to do something that no one's done before. And we walked in with all of this excitement, and he said, guys, have a seat. It's not like that. You need to actually go through you need to understand how to negotiate with someone, and the process that you think that you want to do in 1 year is actually in 5 years. So I still had my full-time job at this point, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Fadi was full-time in the company. The chef we hired came full-time, but I still had my full-time job because we didn't get salaries, and I had to keep that job.
Yeah.
So at the same time, we barge into the guy's office. We tell him, look, he says, you don't have a meeting. We say, look, we're ready to pay you. We want the contract. And he says, it's not a contract. It's an education. You got to spend, you got to come here every day and learn how to do this if you guys want to do it in such a short time. So Fadi and I devoted that energy. We spent countless hours just going to his office, and we read his book. We read everything online about franchising. Like, we kind of like made it our goal to crack this franchising thing. So we went through all of that. And then we went back to Ahmad and said, look, like, we have someone that wants to take us. We really want the contract.
Yeah.
And then he charged us a very expensive amount. And Fadi and I thought that the best investment we could do was to pay for a good franchise contract, so that anyone that comes to sign would say, look, they're working with the Gillette of razor blades. They're credible, right?
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we did. We got the franchise contract, and then we signed with a guy in Saudi. I mean, we had signed a couple in Dubai, but we signed with a guy in Saudi for 20 units. And that was,
Oof.
yeah, 20 units in Saudi.
Oh.
And yeah,
Was that too ambitious though? Like for someone starting off, yes, you want the best, but was it just too much all at once from the beginning when you were still learning the process and journey itself?
I'll tell you, there were so many sleepless nights. I can tell you so many of those. I tell you one thing.
Yeah.
It's not. I probably make. I'm just saying the shorter, nicer version of the story.
Yeah.
Arguments with your co-founder. There's a lot of we're not getting paid. Why are we doing this?
Mm,
There's a lot of all of those things. It's like a constant and financially, right? You're constantly like always trying to make sure that you're not running out of cash.
mm. So why take such a risk? If you value money and you value having financial stability going on, why risk all the work that you've done for 10 years to a company that might just fail, like might not work?
Yeah, there was this thing, I thought about that a lot actually. And I had like a manager at work and I asked him, like, why don't we do more for our customer? And this was
Mm,
usually this was the place where I was knocking heads with because I was in corporate banking. We would basically loan money to corporate to companies.
mm,
And I always had good relationship. I always, did well with my corporate clients because I had a good personal relationship with them and I
mm,
wanted to do more for them. And the bank had something called a policy.
mm,
And for me, that wasn't very exciting. The path of entrepreneurship, where you could actually do things, you could put things together and give value to someone else
mm,
without policy or a reason for there to be a no. And I think I always liked to challenge the norm. And I thought that was so much more exciting. That's 2.5 years after. So under 500, we did it. It took us 5 years to be able to sell the company.
mm.
After 2.5 years of working with the bank, under 500 paid me for 2 months half of what I was getting paid here,
Oh,
and then less. So
yeah.
what I'm saying is, but I couldn't stay in my corporate job anymore because I just saw the world differently. I saw that I was doing deliveries sometimes because the bike wasn't there, and then I
Mm,
thought like, wow, this is my dream. Like I'm actually going and giving someone an under 500 package, telling him, look, man, I hope you get healthy. Like you're
yeah.
gonna thank me later. This is the investment today that you're doing, an
Yeah.
investment in your health. So to me, it kind of like I'd go back to work and then think like, what is this policy thing? Why no? And it's just because he doesn't want to think about it. Neither does, it's just something that's inherited, right? You
Mm,
don't even have to understand why, I guess.
mm.
And for me, these are things, I like to ask the question why. I think curiosity is usually the the reason for a lot of trouble and a few good things.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
If you can use it a little bit in that sense, and there were so many challenging times in it. Like there were so many times I hadn't slept the night. There are so many times that we were on Deliveroo and then Uber Eats and then we needed to go exclusive, and then there were so many of these things at the time that seemed really important decisions to be made.
Mm,
Um, to go back, it was an enjoyable ride for me. I see it
mm,
as enjoyable. I think if you enjoy these things, if you enjoy going through, it's called it's that hard part. It's that startup. It's startup time. When you compare it to real time, I think it's a little different. And
mm,
for example, in a startup, when you give someone a document, you're expecting them to work on it right away.
mm.
In the corporate world, they might leave it for next week because he
Yeah.
has other files, because he really doesn't do any work.
Mm.
In my,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So, I,
Yeah.
I left corporate, but then sometimes you have to face the corporate, and then that becomes the challenge. I think
Mm,
not everyone works in startup time, and I think if you enjoy startup time, you enjoy that hustle, that wake up, that I'm not sure what. I think it's ambiguity, and
mm,
if you're happy living with a percentage of ambiguity, I think startups is for you.
mm,
Uh, for anyone that's listening, I think that if you think of an idea and you think like, so if I'm sitting down and I'm thinking of an idea, 7,000 people, 7 billion people actually in the world, have ideas every day, and I think if you have an idea, the first thing is to share, right?
mm,
I went and shared my idea and I met Fadi. I just wanted someone to help me with marketing. Had I not
mm,
shared my idea with the world, then I would have not known who else was interested.
Mm.
He would have never said, "Can I join you?"
Interesting. Yeah,
So
because many people have a different perspective on that. It's like, I have an idea, just keep it in, don't talk about it because someone
yeah,
else.
but then
Yeah.
exactly. But then you have the idea and you don't talk to anyone, and then what happens is you wake up the next day with another idea.
Yeah.
You get interrupted by someone doing the actual idea. You know, you see, oh, this. So I would say like, you know, I would say like sharing the idea, and then I think from sharing the idea, then you'll attract people that are interested to talk to you more. And then when you see you have like, you know, like a project. So if I was to talk about under 500, the core competency of it would, like, it's a restaurant. The core competencies needed for it are marketing and a chef, right? Like operations and marketing.
Yeah.
And that's true probably for a lot of businesses. So I thought, why not? So that's the idea, right? You might be the marketing guy, you might be the guy with the money, you might be the guy with, you know, the operations, whoever it is. But if you understand that, you know, people work better when they own things, and you put, you know, you actually join with people who are passionate about something.
Yeah.
And with that team, you can get someone else to invest. It doesn't necessarily have to, like in the deal with franchising, other people were investing in units. We didn't really, you know, we invested in the first two, and then we even franchised those out. Back to share your idea and attract people. I think that's the first thing you should do. And then from there, you learn a lot of beautiful things. If you're able to meet people and discuss your idea, I think that's the first barrier, right? Get over it. You don't have the smartest idea. You know, this is my thing to everyone and to myself. I don't have the smartest idea.
Yeah.
Everyone is smart. Attract someone who wants to think with you and work with you. I think that's a nice idea.
Yeah.
You know, the idea can change, but attracting good people, you might change your idea. When you meet someone good, they might convince you of a better idea. You know, that they're willing to work with you on. And if you're a bit flexible, you could work out a nice relationship with someone. That's the way I see it, right?
I have a question here. So you mentioned that I kind of sensed from what you said too as well, that you always have ideas. Ideas are always popping up in your mind. And if you don't execute on one idea, then it's going to fade away. Another one comes in mind, and then you're obsessing over that, right? So like, when do you think an idea is worth testing it out and giving it a shot and being it the thing that you invest your time and energy on?
That's such a great question. I'm going to tell you how I know it. When you have an idea and you sleep and then you wake up and you think about the same idea again, right? And you're like, okay, the idea is not leaving me. For example, in my case, the idea of being healthy, it wasn't leaving me. I knew, like, I wanted to be healthy. I didn't want to be not healthy. I thought health was important for me to be happy. So it wasn't leaving me. And then I thought the restaurant, because, you know, what stuck in my head was, with the amount of money I had, right, these 800,000, I thought there's either a barber shop or a restaurant. I mean, that time I wasn't thinking of no tech company, right? It was a bit like, you know, halag, or, you know, mat'am, like, سوي لك مطعم, you know, سوي لك مطعم. That's the. And I thought, okay, how do I do like a healthy food brand? So then I thought about the idea, right? And it was like, it stayed with me. I woke up with the same idea the next day. Then I saw myself sharing my idea. Then in the process of sharing my idea, I met people that became mentors to me. They got satisfaction just to pick up my phone call and say, hey man, how are you doing? What did you do with your idea? They got motivated by me moving forward on my idea. I kind of picked up followers, and these people became investors. So an investor can be someone that sees you moving, right? And then they get fear of FOMO, and then they want to join. They invest.
Yeah.
You need to create that FOMO, right? You need to be someone that, and how do you create it? By showing someone, here I am, and then in a week's time, here I am, and in a week's time, here I am, and here's some new data, and this is what I'm doing. And the startup time, when you see someone in corporate and they see startup time and you're working in startup time, I think it's really motivating for someone to see you move. It's like, it's almost like a real life story.
What kept you though motivated? What kept you moving?
So I don't know. I don't think I wanted. I mean, if I was thinking about money, I had enough money to like be comfortable. But I was thinking more. You know, I wanted to solve a problem, right? I'm motivated by that. I was more motivated by a bigger idea. I wanted a bigger idea. I wanted to be able to change something. Now, when I see under 500 all over Dubai, you know, I've seen an under 400 in Saudi. I've seen an under 300 in Dubai. I'm flattered. it helped me sell my brand, right? Because it gave me good PR. Like when now this calorie thing has picked up and everyone's talking more about calories, I'm happy, right? So, back to my journey of the 20 units in Saudi. So usually they say when it sounds too good to be true, they say when it sounds too good to be true, it usually isn't true. Like, we signed with these guys 20 units in Saudi, and we were like, yes, let's go to Saudi now. And they paid us like $100,000 just on signing. And we were like, yes, we have this money. We'll go to Saudi. We'll work it out. It will all go well.
Yeah.
And then, we got interrupted by another company called Kitopi. Kitopi Kitchens showed up, and Kitopi Kitchen says, look, you guys are #1 healthy food brand on all the aggregators in Dubai, Uber and Careem. Why don't you give us all of your locations and we'll put you on all of our kitchens?
Okay.
And so, we thought, so we had a very ambitious plan. We bought rights to 80 countries and a franchise plan to at least 60 of them. So Fadi and I were like, we thought like we were going to take over the world. Kitopi came and said, look, we got a bigger plan. We're going to actually build kitchens all over the world and we'll sort out the funding. We'll put you in all of these kitchens. So we kind of had the same direction, right? So we said, okay, so you just want our franchised units. Maybe we can make a deal with our franchisees and then have you take over those units and then we could grow together, right? I think for me, it was that kind of international expansion that got me excited. I even did a master's in international business. For me, like I thought a company that goes to other countries would, if someone could do that, then they could prove that they could work anywhere. And that kind of gave me a different kind of success. That motivated me a lot. So when you ask me what motivated me, I guess it's the success of, moving forward, right? Doing something, solving a problem of calories and food for a lot of people in different countries. So then Kitopi kind of took us, put us in their kitchens, and then eventually bought us out.
How was that experience for you, though? Like for them to buy you out?
Yeah, I think that's like a very, I think I've seen the statistics. I'll go back to 88% and the 12%, and then the 12% of businesses, they actually survive, but then to get bought out, there's even a smaller percentage, because that means someone can take what you did and scale it more than you can. So to me, that I thought, for me, it was like an exit, right? I think every entrepreneur wants an exit. It's very easy to get a trade license and just start a business. I think to be able to sell your business is you're going to have to do the whole round and make all of those mistakes before you can sell your business. There's quite a bit of mistakes you have to do. And the person that can actually finish all of those mistakes, it requires a little bit, it's not hard at all. It just needs you to be able to work in startup time, which means you're excited and you're curious every day. You want to learn something new. You don't really want to sit in the desk job. And there are people that want to do the desk job. Don't get me wrong. I was doing it for a long time. I like it. Yeah. I might want to go back to it, but I don't see myself, I work in this time now. I feel like, I expect things from people quicker, and I work in a faster way. And I do a bit of reading. I try to spend my time also, in things that will make me happy. Health is one thing. Then there's, I get motivated when I learn something new. So I need something that sparks my curiosity, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you, what makes you happy?
Being healthy. If interesting conversations with people, I love to have interesting conversations with them. That makes me happy. I don't like small talk. For me, that's very tough. But I like conversations. I think for me, watching someone speak about something or sitting with interesting people, it always makes me excited and happy.
Interesting. And then you kind of sold under 500. What happened to your day-to-day life experiences? Because now you're working constantly, your mind is constantly on the go. Then nothing. What happened then?
So the journey to the journey it's very true what you're saying. I think when you're used to working in that startup speed and all of a sudden, it's gone and you wake up and you're back to normal mode. You don't really have anything to do. So I think that's true. But what I did was I went online and found, co-founders, and I actually raised $500,000 for a new startup. So I got really busy really fast, and I wanted to do a startup right away. I couldn't deal with not doing anything. So I jumped into doing something attractive attracted a new group of partners, attracted the funding for it. Now with an exit, it made it much easier for me to reach out to people and say, hey, they see me, they would invest with me now. It's a little different. So I did that, and now it's a tech company, and then we kind of pivoted into a different thing. We're kind of in stealth mode at this time. I don't want to too deep into what we're doing, just so that it doesn't get poached by anyone else. I like my co-founders. I want them to stay with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, basically, we kind of bought out this Danish company, and we're going to bring them to Dubai. Kind of pivot them from where they are and to localize the product. So I won't go more into detail, but that's kind of what I'm doing with my time. I work with a team of British people and
Nice.
people in Dubai. Yeah, we're the same thing, right? Back to business, co-founding team, splitting tasks, working efficiently, trying to solve problems that, probably our friends would laugh at and say, oh yeah, save your money, save your time,
Yeah.
And I like it. It's exciting.
And you said work efficiently. Define efficiently, and define also what does it mean to hire the right people in a project or in a startup.
Okay, so work efficiently. For example, if I was to answer your question earlier about how do you find the right co-founder, I would say share the idea with someone. You create a WhatsApp group with all of those people that you share the idea with. You see who the last man standing is with you and what they're going to contribute from those core competencies. And by then you worked with them on a project. You've met them a few times, so you know who they are. And I think that, for example, is working efficiently, right? Like you have a process for finding a co-founder. So that is working. And I think working efficiently, for example, now when I hang up the phone with someone, I don't have a pile of papers that I throw something on. That pile of papers, I try to keep, the ball is hardly ever in my court. I always want it out. The only ball in my court is me thinking. And I try to, and even that, I work with a group, we think together. It's not a one-man show. So the way I think about it is there is no pile of papers. When I get assigned something, I'm on it right away, which means I'm going to take out my phone. I'm going to make that phone call. I'm going to open my laptop. I'm going to see what it is that needs to be done. And if anything interrupts me, I'll give it its time, but I'll go back to finishing that because that becomes the priority. So for example, right, I can be sitting here in Jumeirah in my house. I can go to the beach here, enjoy the beach at 5 o'clock, like I do every day. Or I can go at 6 o'clock. If at 5 o'clock I have something to do, I'll do that thing that I need to do. It's okay if I skip the beach for 2 or 3 days. I'm not, I go to the beach for health reasons. I get vitamin D. You only get it from the sun. And at sunset, it's the best. And I like to swim sometimes. And I think to myself, health is important. Work is important. Sometimes I will prioritize work, but the work that I'm working on is urgent today. How do I say this? If something is pending overnight, that's me worrying overnight. I don't like to worry about unfinished business. I don't like the ball to be in my court and someone's waiting on me, because when they see that, they start understanding the startup time and they realize this is what it means when you're in a startup. When you get assigned the task, you need to ask why, like the next question, right? Like if someone gave it to you, you need to know why they gave it to you, what the deal is. And you need to finish it right away. And I think that's the startup culture that you need. And if you're like that, then the people with you, they start also respecting that and start behaving in a similar way. So it goes back to that startup culture. Does that person want to work in a startup culture or do they not? Does someone want to work on a Lamborghini speed, or does someone want to work on, take it easy and hope I don't get fired? That there's also like that. Startups fail, most of them. So you can also lose your job at the startup. But it's the amount. I think like my number one thing for someone in university would be find a company or a founder that you want to work for, as opposed to a large corporate where you get lost doing a small process. Here you might understand the bigger picture faster, so you might be able to launch a business even faster because you saw someone fail, right, or someone make it. But in a corporate, you're too far away. Your starting position is very far away from the actual decision making. So you never know why things are done. So it goes back to, you can't ask why. In a startup, you can ask why. Like, why are we doing this? right? It's so
Yeah.
normal that everyone should know why. And it's your job to explain to your friends and co-founders why you're doing something.
Mm.
In a corporation, no one wants to know why. Everyone says follow the policy. That's it. Just follow the policy. If you move out of the policy, there's HR that's,
Yeah, and the thing is, I've come to realize, like, I always thought everyone wants to know why, but I've come to realize that some people really don't. It's like if I get to do my job and that's all that you want me to do, I leave here by 6, 7, I'm done. That's it. Like they can even like cut off. Like I didn't quite get this. Like they could just zone out of work and enjoy their life because خلاص, they felt that they've contributed what they needed to do for work and then they're done. And I really also like the aspect that you talked about there, where you said, if I had something very urgent in the morning, and sometimes I had to cancel, let's say my trip to walking early in the morning, I had to cancel it to schedule some other time because something is urgent there. And I think this space that we're in, where you need to be consistent and follow a certain pattern and a routine to optimize your health and well-being, becomes really exhausting if you miss a day and then you become too harsh on yourself. And I fail, then khalas, you get into this a failure mode and then you just can't get yourself back up. But what you said there is something I also come to realize myself and learn too. It's like, it's okay, like you're human. Sometimes you need to look at priorities, what I need to focus on now, and then kind of tomorrow's a new day and you can continue. If you didn't get a chance to say work out in the morning, you have the rest of the day to yet schedule your workout, it's like not the end of the world. So yeah, I guess
Aida, and you asked an interesting question. You said how do you basically know if someone it's so I think before you do anything with anyone, you have like a small project, and I think it all goes down to time, right? Like, so for example, I tell, I meet someone, how are you doing? How are you? They tell me, let's show up, let's meet for a coffee in 3 days, right? Someone I just met on LinkedIn. So I went to LinkedIn, I'm looking for, I thought someone shared an idea with me. I thought it's a good idea. I thought, let me share with the new group of people. Let me go on LinkedIn and type someone and see who shows up. I find someone interesting. I tell him, let's go to coffee. He meets me at coffee, maybe at Hamptons or any of the coffee shops around my house here, or anywhere actually. I'd go meet someone I thought is interesting. And then he'd sit with me in the coffee shop. And first of all, obviously, if he shows up at 3 o'clock and our meeting's at 3 o'clock and I show up at 3:30, then that kind of is setting the stage for the relationship, right? That, I'm 30 minutes late. So I think if both people are on time, that's something important. It means they both respect time, right? And then with this person, you discuss the idea and then they're interested in the idea. And then, they go away and you go away. And then you call them, for example, on the weekend. So now you need to establish values. So you call them on the weekend and they say, oh, my phone is switched off on the weekend. Don't call me. But you have the idea and you're talking to other people and you're moving forward and your value is to work on the weekends. You want someone to be able to cope with that, not to think that you're a workaholic or for you to think that they're lazy. You want someone on the same vibe. So to find someone on the same vibe, you see what their timing is, right? On that. So think of an imaginary project, and time is, you want to look at how they use their time. So on the weekend, you call them and they're burning with desire to talk to you about the idea. And he's like, I'm with my wife, but I thought about what you said and I want to do 1, 2, 3, and I'm waiting to see you. So you realize that person is willing to give up his weekend time and you're willing to give up your weekend time. And then you have sort of like, and then you meet 10 people like that, and then from those 10, you end up with 1 or 2 who have core competencies in the project that you want to do.
Okay.
Which is a restaurant, 1 ops, 1 marketing, or it could be a finance guy, it could be a startup guy. There's so many interesting people, but you need to know, like, what, like if it's a tech company, you need to have a tech co-founder. You need that, right? Like if you're in construction, you're going to need to have a partner, unless you think you can do everything on your own. I think that these days, it's a little bit like, I think it's a little bit, it gets lonely when you have no one to talk to. And, it's nice to have partners. It's nice to have a good team of co-founders, even if you bust, you lose your project the first time, the second time, you learn from the people around you how to, they'll really get your team on, in a corporation, you can speak to someone in a bad way, maybe because they're your subordinate or you're under you, or your boss could speak to you in a way. But here in a startup, you learn to kind of work with people, to respect each other in a different way, kind of like work on a mission together. I think
Yeah.
that's such an exciting journey with people that share the same core values. And even if you argue later, it's fine. If you both, you know, if you're both honest, you respect each other for those values, right?
Yeah.
There'll be something tying you guys together.
Yeah.
You both are efficient, you're both working hard, you're both, you have some really good values with the person. So
Yeah.
the argument becomes little, and you work more on the process to avoid that again.
I have a few more questions. So one is, let's say you're meeting with a lot of people, building relationships, interacting, sharing your ideas with others. How do you get from getting to know people or connections into building your network? Because a lot of people say your network is your net worth, and not necessarily worth as in money wise, but your mind, your energy, the way you function, the way you do things, your overall well being, I feel. So, yeah, how does that go?
Look, first of all, I'd say, some people are introverted, some people are extroverted. There's
Mm,
no good, there's no bad. Some people are more, they gain energy around people. Some people lose energy. So, I think that
mm,
the way people meet people can be depending a little bit about who they are as a
yeah.
person, and are they approachable, are they extroverted. Um, but yeah, I can talk about my experience. So I would, I think for me, what I enjoy is meaningful conversations. So when I'm meeting these people, and then first thing I want to establish is, do we have the same core values?
Mm,
Time, right? So when I meet them the next time, when they see me the next time, is that 2-3 times that we meet each other on the same time? Is our, when I tell him, can we meet? If he says, yeah, let's meet in 1 month,
mm,
he's not in startup time. He doesn't have time for me.
mm,
You know what I mean? So for me, time is a value, right? Are you like, and then hardworking. If we now sit and talk about something, so now I'm talking to 10 people about the idea. If in 2 days, one guy comes to me with an answer on something like, hey, I found out how to do this. I
mm,
spoke to 2 people, and I know in 2 days, this guy is like running around talking to people.
mm,
Like he's excited about the idea. The
mm,
idea is contagious. It's burning inside him with
mm,
desire. And that's a value, right? Because you have that same value, and now someone else has it.
mm,
And that can be for a sport. If I talk to someone about soccer, and then they show up the next time and we kick a ball and we have fun. So
mm,
I play soccer. I have,
mm,
but I make friends sometimes at soccer, but we're just friends because we play soccer together.
mm,
There's no big deal to it. But we're both passionate about scoring, and we pass, and in the game we're best friends. Like
yeah.
we high five,
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
shebang. But
Yeah.
so I think you become friends with people who have the same common values. If I found out the guy at soccer, for example, stole something from someone else, it might impact my friendship with him, because
Mm,
my value is honesty. For example, I think for me, if I'm even standing next to him, I might get mistaken for him, and
mm,
that's not my core value. So
mm,
it would affect my friendship with him. Maybe I'll just play soccer with him then, and try not to be seen with him out of soccer,
mm,
because his core value is, he's a thief and doesn't go with my core value.
mm,
But if we're both, hard workers, and then at soccer we talk about the idea, he's one of the people I discuss it with. He comes back, hey, listen, I found this out. I want to do this with you. And then from those 10 people, in a month's time, you're down to you and him and one other guy, and
mm,
you're kind of already, meeting up, you're doing your own little meetup. And when there's this kind of energy, other people try to get in as well. So his friends would be like, who are these two cool people you're meeting? And
yeah.
so imagine, it becomes almost like you almost instantly know that you're the way that you guys are tackling an idea is interesting to someone else. Or
Mm,
the way you guys kick a ball together, you now have people watching, or your team likes it, like you're both good at it. So
mm,
you kind of have to establish that, like, you
mm,
know, yeah, you can go to any meetup in Dubai, but I've seen these meetups. I think that they're a bit like, they're more like social gatherings, and
mm,
they're cool. But if you're looking for someone, like, if your value is like time, and you're looking for someone that's like, that's spending all of their time in meetups, like, I would rather find someone who wants to do a startup, because that guy probably passed the stage of meetups. He actually failed once or twice, and he's in startup mode. He just wants to do something new again, and
mm,
add value there. And there's a lot of those people, and they don't necessarily have to be at the meetups. You can create that person if you speak to someone and they start responding with you, and you have those values,
mm,
and they see you working that way, and they are like that. You
mm,
attract each other. So you kind of have to be in that zone to attract someone. Like, if you spend all your time every week at the startup, and the other person's also there, and they discuss an idea and you discuss an idea, and then next week and nothing happens, then you're wasting time. But if you share an idea and someone's talking to you about the same idea, and now in those days you've met and there's kind of energy and you're building other core values, like you've given them a task and they've told you, okay, let's do the numbers together. You take care of the number, I'll take care of the branding. Let's meet in 3 days. Show me something. And they show you something and you show them something. You get super motivated by that process, right? That it's like and other people will notice, and you'll try to attract better people like who have a common value like you guys. I think it's kind of an energy that exists because you're working hard together or doing something productive together, and it motivates you. I think that's a very strong motivator, more than money. I think in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you look at I think we all studied in university at some point. They made us do, business course where there's a hierarchy of needs for human beings.
Yeah.
And so the basic one is security, which is like shelter, a home,
Yeah.
somewhere to sleep, food. The top of it is self-actualization, which is to be solving a problem and to be realized for it. That is the most powerful thing, right? And to me, I think that's very attractive. I think if you're doing something in that space, you will get paid, right? People will buy you out or give you a salary, but the money shouldn't be the motivator. If it is, startups is definitely not like there's 88% failure rate in it. So, save your money if that's your only motivation. I strongly suggest, like, I know that a lot of people, they want to, try new things, but I would say it's also good to invest with other people. There's also some wisdom in doing something with someone who's done it, and for you to prove. There's nothing wrong with going and working for a startup. Like there's 3 co-founders and you just finished university and you join them, and just to have access to people that are risking someone else's money and getting you involved in why. So you get to know why they're doing these things. So whether it's right or wrong, you're exposed to a full startup, the speed of this startup, the amount of work they demand from you. You'll get into a really by the time you have a couple of years here, it's equivalent to maybe double the time in a corporate.
100%.
Like I can tell you that as a fact. It's startup failure is much higher than corporate, and you learn in failures.
100%. How should people connect with you? Where should they find you? How should they reach you?
I have an Instagram and I have a phone number. I'm happy for you to reach out to me.
Awesome. So
you can share it with whoever wants to.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, perfect. And for everyone listening, I hope you all have an amazing, awesome rest of your day.